Happy Saturday, January the 11th, 2025, everyone. I'm reading chapter 6 from a book titled A Shepherd Looks at Psalms 23 by Philip Keller. Chapter 6 titled He Leadeth Me in the Paths of Righteousness for His Name's Sake. The author says sheep are notorious creatures of habit. If left to themselves, they will follow the same trails until they become ruts, graze the same hills until they turn to desert waste, pollute their own ground until it is corrupt with disease and parasites. Many of the world's finest sheep ranges have been ruined beyond repair by overgrazing, poor management, and indifferent or ignorant sheep owners. One need only travel through countries like Spain, Greece, Mesopotamia, North Africa, and even parts of the western United States and New Zealand or Australia to see the havoc wrought by sheep on the land. Some areas in these countries, which were formerly productive grasslands, have gradually been reduced to ravaged wastelands. Too many sheep over too many years under poor management have brought nothing but poverty and disaster in their wake. A commonly held but serious misconception about sheep is that they can just get along anywhere. The truth is quite the reverse. No other class of livestock requires more careful handling, more detailed direction than do sheep. No doubt David, as a shepherd himself, had learned this firsthand from tough experience. He knew beyond dispute that if the flock was to flourish and the owner's reputation was to be held in high esteem as a good manager, the sheep had to be constantly under his meticulous control and guidance. The first sheep farm I purchased as a young man was a piece of derelict land that had been sheeped to death. An absentee owner had rented the place to a tenant. The latter simply loaded the ranch with sheep, then left them pretty much to their own ways. The result was utter desolation. Fields became so overgrazed and impoverished they would grow little but poverty grass. Little sheep trails had deteriorated into great gullies. Erosion on the slopes was rampant, and the whole place was ravaged almost beyond repair. All of this happened simply because the sheep, instead of being managed and handled with intelligent care, had been left to struggle for themselves, left to their own way, left to the whims of their own destructive habits. The consequence of such indifference is that the sheep gnaw the grass to the very ground until even the roots were damaged. I have seen places in Africa where grass roots were pawed out of the soil, leaving utter bareness behind. Such abuse means loss of fertility and the exposure of the land to all the ravages of erosion. Because of the behavior of sheep and their preference for certain favored spots, these well worn areas become quickly infested with parasites of all kinds. In a short time, a whole flock can thus become infected with worms, nematodes, and scab. The final upshot is that both land and owner are ruined while the sheep become thin, wasted, and sickly. The intelligent shepherd is aware of all this, not only just for the welfare of his sheep and the health of his land, but also for his own sake and reputation as a rancher. He must take the necessary precautions to safeguard against these adverse animal traits. Such habits in themselves comprise very serious hazards. The greatest single safeguard which a shepherd has in handling his flock is to keep them on the move. That is to say, they dare not to be left on the same ground too long. They must be shifted from pasture to pasture periodically. This prevents overgrazing of the forage. It also avoids the rutting of trails and erosion of land from overuse. It forestalls the reinfestation of the sheep with internal parasites or disease, since the sheep move off the infested ground before these organisms complete their life cycles. In a word, there must be a predetermined plan of action, a deliberate, planned rotation from one grazing ground to another, in line with right and proper principles of sound management. This is precisely the sort of action and the idea David had in mind when he spoke of being led in paths of righteousness. In this following of a precise plan of operation lies the secret for healthy flocks and healthy land. Here's the key to successful sheep husbandry. The owner's entire name and reputation depends on how effectively and efficiently he keeps his charges moving onto wholesome, new, fresh forage. The one who directs his flock along this course is sure of success. Casting my mind's eye back over the years that I kept sheep, no other single aspect of the ranch operations commanded more of my careful attention than this moving of the sheep. It literally dominated all my decisions. Not a day went by but what I would walk over the pasture in which the sheep were feeding to observe the balance between its growth and the grazing pressure upon it. As soon as the point was reached where I felt the maximum benefit for both sheep and land was not being met, the sheep were moved to a fresh field. On the average, this meant they were put onto new ground almost every week. In very large measure, the success I enjoyed in sheep ranching must be attributed to this care in managing my flock. A similar procedure applies to flocks of sheep taken out on summer range in the hills by itinerant herders. They deliberately lead or drive their sheep onto fresh range almost every day. A pattern of grazing is worked out carefully in advance so that the sheep do not feed over the same ground too long or too frequently. Some shepherds set up a base camp and fan out from it in wide circles like the lobes of a clover leaf, covering new pasturage each day, returning to camp at night. Coupled with this entire concept of management, there is, of course, the owner's intimate knowledge of his pastures. He has been all over this ground again and again. He knows its every advantage and every drawback. He knows where his flock will thrive, and he is aware of where the feed is poor, so he acts accordingly. A point worthy of mention here is that whenever the shepherd opens a gate into a fresh pasture, the sheep are filled with excitement. As they go through the gate, even the staid old ewes will often kick up their heels and leap with delight at the prospect of finding fresh feed. How they enjoy being led onto new ground. Now, as we turn to the human aspect of this theme, we will be astonished at some of the parallels. As mentioned earlier, it is no mere whim on God's part to call us sheep. Our behavior patterns and life habits are so much like that of sheep, it is well nigh embarrassing. First of all, Scripture points out that most of us are a stiff necked and stubborn lot. We prefer to follow our own fancies and turn to our own ways. All we, like sheep, have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 6. And this we do deliberately, repeatedly, even to our own disadvantage. There is something almost terrifying about the destructive self-determination of a human being. It is inexorably interlocked with personal pride and self-assertion. We insist we know what is best for us, even though the disastrous results may be self-evident. Just as sheep will blindly, habitually, stupidly follow one another along the same little trails until they become ruts that erode into gigantic gullies, so we humans cling to the same habits that we have seen ruin other lives. Turning to my own way simply means doing what I want. It implies that I feel free to assert my own wishes and carry out my own ideas, and this I do in spite of every warning. We read in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12, and Proverbs chapter 16, verse 25, there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. In contrast to which Christ the Good Shepherd comes gently and says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. John chapter 14, verse 6. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. John chapter 10, verse 10. The difficult point is that most of us don't want to come. We don't want to follow. We don't want to be led in the paths of righteousness. Somehow it goes against our grain. We actually prefer to turn to our own way, even though it may take us straight into trouble. The stubborn, self willed, proud, self sufficient sheep that persists in pursuing its old paths and grazing on its old polluted ground will end up a bag of bones on ruined land. The world we live in is full of such folk: broken homes, broken hearts, derelict lives, and twisted personalities remind us everywhere of men and women who have gone their own way. We have a sick society struggling to survive on beleaguered land. The greed and selfishness of mankind leaves behind a legacy of ruin and remorse. Amid all this chaos and confusion, Christ, the Good Shepherd, comes and says, "If any man will follow me, let him deny himself daily and take up his cross and follow me." Mark chapter 8, verse 34. But most of us, even as Christians, simply don't want to do this. We don't want to deny ourselves, give up our right to make our own decisions. We don't want to follow. We don't want to be led. Of course, most of us, if confronted with this charge, would deny it. We would assert vehemently that we are led of the Lord. We would insist that we would follow wherever He leads. We sing songs to this effect and give mental assent to the idea. But as far as actually being led in paths of righteousness is concerned, precious few of us follow that path. Actually, this is the pivot point on which a Christian either goes on with God or at which point he goes back from following on. There are many willful, wayward, indifferent, self-interested Christians who cannot really be classified as followers of Christ. There are relatively few diligent disciples who forsake all to follow the Master. Jesus never made light of the cost involved in following Him. In fact, He made it painfully clear that it was a rugged life of rigid self-denial. It entailed a whole new set of attitudes. It was not the natural, normal way a person would ordinarily live, and this is what made the price so prohibitive to most people. In brief, 7 fresh attitudes have to be acquired. They are the equivalent of progressive forward movements onto new ground with God. If one follows them, they will discover fresh pasturage, new, abundant life, and increased health, wholesomeness, and holiness in their walk with God. Nothing will please Him more, and most certainly no other activity on our part will or can result in as great benefit to other lives around us. Number 1, instead of loving myself most, I am willing to love Christ best and others more than myself. Now, love in a scriptural sense is not a soft, sentimental emotion. It is a deliberate act of my will. It means that I'm willing to lay down my life, lay myself out, put myself out on behalf of another. This is precisely what God did for us in Christ. Hereby perceive, understand, we, the love of God, because He laid down His life for us. 1 John chapter 3, verse 16. The moment I deliberately do something definite, either for God or others, that costs me something, I am expressing love. Love is selflessness or self-sacrifice in contradistinction to selfishness. Most of us know little of living like this or being led in this right way. But once a person discovers the delight of doing something for others, he has started through the gate, being led into one of God's green pastures. Number 2, instead of being one of the crowd, I am willing to be singled out, set apart from the gang. Most of us, like sheep, are pretty gregarious. We want to belong. We don't want to be different in a deep, distinctive way, though we may wish to be different in minor details that appeal to our selfish egos. But Christ pointed out that only a few would find His way acceptable, And to be marked as one of his would mean a certain amount of criticism and sarcasm from a cynical society. Many of us don't know many of us don't want this. Just as he was a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, so we may be. Instead of adding to the sorrows and sadness of society, we may be called on to help bear some of the burdens of others, to enter into the suffering of others. Are we ready to do this? Number three, instead of insisting on my rights, I am willing to forego them in favor of others. Basically, this is what the Master meant by denying oneself. It is not easy, nor normal, nor natural to do this. Even in the loving atmosphere of the home, self assertion is pretty evident, and the powerful exercise of individual rights is always apparent. But the person who is willing to pocket his pride, to take a back seat, to play second fiddle without a feeling of being abused or put upon has gone a long way onto new ground with God. There's a tremendous emancipation from self in this attitude. One is set free from the shackles of personal pride. It is pretty hard to hurt such a person. He who has no sense of self importance cannot be offended or deflated. Somehow, such people enjoy a wholesome outlook of carefree abandon that makes their Christian lives contagious with contentment and gaiety. Number four, instead of being boss, I am willing to be at the bottom of the heap. Or to use terminology, instead of being top ram, I am willing to be a tail ender. When the desire for self assertion, self aggrandizement, self pleasing gives way to the desire for simply pleasing God and others, much of the fret and strain is drained away from daily living. A hallmark of the serene soul is the absence of drive, at least drive for self determination. The person who is prepared to put his personal life and personal affairs in the Master's hands for his management and direction has found the place of rest in fresh fields each day. These are the ones who find time and energy to please others. Number five, instead of finding fault with life and always asking why, I am willing to accept every circumstance of life in an attitude of gratitude. Human beings, being what they are, somehow feel entitled to question the reasons for everything that happens to them. In many instances, life itself becomes a continuous criticism and dissection of one's circumstances and acquaintances. We look for someone or something on which to pin the blame for our misfortunes. We are often quick to forget our blessings, slow to forget our misfortunes. But if one really believes his affairs are in God's hands, every event, no matter whether joyous or tragic, will be taken as part of God's plan. To know beyond doubt that He does all for our welfare is to be led into a wide area of peace and quietness and strength for every situation. Number six, instead of exercising and asserting my will, I learn to cooperate with His wishes and comply with His will. It must be noted that all the steps outlined here involve the will. The saints from earliest times have repeatedly pointed out that nine-tenths of religion, of Christianity, of becoming a true follower, a dedicated disciple, lies in the will. When a man or woman allows his will to be crossed out, canceling the great I in their decisions, then indeed the cross has been applied to that life. This is the meaning of taking up one's cross daily, to go to one's own death. No longer my will in the matter, but His will be done. Number seven, instead of choosing my own way, I am willing to choose to follow in Christ's way, simply to do what He asks me to do. This basically is simple, straightforward obedience. It means I just do what He asks me to do. I go where He invites me to go. I say what He instructs me to say. I act and react in the manner He maintains is in my own best interest as well as for His reputation if I am His follower. Most of us possess a formidable amount of factual information on what the Master expects of us. Precious few have either the will, intention, or determination to act on it and comply with his instructions. But the person who decides to do what God asks him has moved onto fresh ground, which will do both him and others a world of good. Besides, it will please the Good Shepherd no end. God wants us all to move on with him. He wants us to walk with him. He wants it not only for our welfare, but for the benefit of others as well as his own dear reputation. Perhaps there are those who think he expects too much of us. Maybe they feel the demands are too drastic. Some may even consider his call impossible to carry out. It would be if we had to depend on self determination or self discipline to succeed. But if we are in earnest about wanting to do His will and to be led, He makes this possible by His own gracious Spirit, who is given to those who obey. Acts chapter 5, verse 32. For it is He who works in us both to will and to do of His good pleasure. Philippians chapter 2, verse 13. So that concludes chapter 6 from the book A Shepherd Looks at Psalms 23, written by Philip Keller. Six out of 12 chapters, so halfway there. But how's everybody doing this Saturday night? Haven't been looking at the chat, so I don't know who all's up in here, but I see that there's 12, and I can see some of you: Judy, Justin, Barrett, my fellow BBN, Connie Jones. Thank y'all for stopping by. Happy Saturday, Happy New Year, Happy January the 11th, 2025. Happy Saturday to the commenting collector, Robert. Appreciate you stopping by. Happy Saturday to Sydney Cat. Happy Saturday to Dan. Happy Saturday, Spine Ticks. Happy Saturday, Danny. Appreciate everybody that stopped by. My favorite verse in this book is about this verse, and that's why 23 is my favorite number. It comes from Psalms 23. The Rushmore Show. Happy Saturday to Kirk. Kirk spelled backwards is Crick. Um, he says, "Hey, three good nerds, love the cans video today. I remember doing that as a kid. I haven't seen the video, so I can't comment further on that, but I have to check it out." Yeah, Kink. Kink spelled backwards is Nick. I like what Justin says. Always fun when I can get some guy time with my little guy. You know, family time is always the most important time. So, love to hear that. Dan, I love trivia night. You're gonna have to do if I get a vote in the matter, I say do it again. But I'm just one person, but I really enjoyed it. I love me some trivia. Um, Jeopardy is my favorite game show, so I love me some trivia, especially sports trivia is fun. No, no gloves. Yeah, anybody that's willing to do some trivia, I'm all for it. Dan says they're doing it every Wednesday. Look forward to that. Y'all check out Dan at Hockey Stick Talk Nation uh, and Tim Incognito. Cat, 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 cat. Cat on the scene, if you know what I mean. Adam's car closet. I have a confession to make, Adam. Uh, your last live Adam episode, a live TTM 101 episode, I fell asleep. I had to confess. Confession is good for the soul. But that was a great live, Adam. I enjoyed it. And I didn't want to fall asleep, but I did. Confession. But I appreciate everybody that's dropping in. I enjoy watching all these channels. Um, Hunting Bigfoot, yeah. The search for Sasquatch, kind of like the search for Spock. You remember the movie Search for Spock? This is the search for Sasquatch. We're not finding Nimoy, like finding Nemo, but finding Leonard Nimoy. But we're looking for Bigfoot, which I found the easiest way to find Bigfoot if anybody is truly looking for Bigfoot. You just watch the NBA. There's a lot of Bigfoot sightings when you watch the NBA. Um, I didn't watch the NBA today, but I did watch some college basketball. My favorite team, the Auburn Tigers, played today, and there were several Bigfoot sightings on the SEC network today. So know, watch a little SEC network, and you'll probably see Bigfoot. Wimby, he's got some big feet. Hello to Budget Rips, Epiphany Car Collector. Thank you all for stopping by. Happy Saturday. The chat is where it's at. I appreciate all 13 that stopped by. Y'all get your Super Bowl predictions before the play. Well, the playoffs have already started, but who does everybody think is going to win the Super Bowl? I know what Kirk's going to say, um, but who do y'all think is going to win the Super Bowl this year, 2025 Super Bowl? Hello, Titus. God is great. Happy Happy Sunday to you. Yeah, I already said I knew what you was going to say, Kirk. We got Baltimore. We got the Chiefs. God is great's already over into Sunday, so happy Sunday. Oh, Adam said, let's go Chiefs. So we got a couple of Chiefs. We got a Lion. There's the Lions. All right. Chiefs, Lions, Baltimore. Anybody else? I got my vote in. I know it's upside down, but go Broncos. Saints are my favorite team, but Saints had one of the roughest years in a long time this year, so I had to go with my second favorite team, go Broncos. Broncos already lost. Hey, since Rushmore's up in here, somebody throw out a top four something we can talk about. Because I just came on tonight basically just to read my chapter from my book of the day, and I've already done that, so I don't really have nothing particular on my mind. But if Rushmore could throw out a top four something we could talk about. Connie Jones says Chiefs to go to Super Bowl to win. So there's your prediction. Yeah, I was hoping for a, like I said, I want the Saints have only won one Super Bowl. I always hope for them to go to the Super Bowl, but it ain't happening this year. But my number two team is the Broncos, and my brother's number two team was the Packers. So I was hoping for a rematch of that, just like the 1998 season. Top four quarterbacks in the NFL currently. That's a good something to talk about, Adam. Um, y'all go ahead and put your top four current quarterbacks down. Hello, Joe. Thank you for stopping by. Happy Saturday. Rushmore says I knew Mahomes was going to be at the top of his list. Allen, Josh Allen, number two. He's got Lamar Jackson, number three, and Joe Burrow, number four. All right, we got one list. Anybody else got a top four current quarterbacks? Dan, Dan, I don't see Connor Bedard on your list. Dan's got Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Jared Goff. Let's see. Adam's got Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Allen fourth. So y'all got a lot of the similar names, just maybe a little swapped up some. But Kurt's got Stafford, Daniels, Love, and Stroud as honorable mentions. First one to put Bo Nix on their list is the uh, the uh, the winner of the day. Um, Yuck. All right, once we get our yeah, I love hearing all sports stories. Touchdown, Baltimore. When y'all get done putting in your top four current NFL players, how about top four past? Oh, how about past or present? Would any of the currents make it into your top four, or would it be all four be previous old school quarterbacks? Oh, you're gonna get us. You're gonna get it autographed for sure, right? Autograph book. I don't. I can't remember now if I've mentioned Judy being here, but hello, Judy. If I've already said it, I'll say it again. Hello to Judy. So Rushmore says Mahomes. Oh, you put Mahomes above Breeze? What in the world? Mahomes, Breeze, Montana, and Marino. I like them. I love me some autographs, Dan. So that'd be cool to get you an autograph book. I have a lot of autographed sports cards, but I don't have a lot of autographed books. I do have some in my collection, but not a lot. So that'd be cool. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of comparing them either, Justin. I don't like I don't like comparing in anything because you know somebody always gets hurt. I don't like the comparisons, but my number one would be John Elway. My number two would be Drew Brees, and I probably would go uh, Marino number three and Montana number four. That's dangerous territory, Adam. Rushmore of girlfriends. But in this new year, um, I was just thinking about things I'd like to see in 2025 and things I need in 2025. I'm not talking about wants. I'm just talking about needs. And one of the main things been coming to me, the thing that I need in this new year is direction, and just the thing that speaks loud to me and is I'm looking for direction in this new year is been Psalms 23, and that's why I've been reading the book that talks about Psalms 23. But within the verse, it talks about um, the Lord is my shepherd, shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. That leadership there beside the still waters. He restore, and I love to say that phrase. He restoreth my soul. If you've ever been a part of restoring something, you know the importance of something being restored. And I love it. That phrase. I mean, it speaks to me maybe more than any other in this. Is He restoreth my soul. But back to the leadership. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. But I love how it ends out. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And that's the ultimate goal, for me is to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And man, if you're led by the Lord, that goal will be reality. But I'm definitely looking for leadership in this new year, and I pray that we all are, and that we go to the Lord for leadership in this new year. Rushmore says 23 is his favorite number too. Cool for Donnie Baseball. Justin, be glad to hear that if Justin's still up in here. Yeah, I always enjoyed watching Don Mattingly play the game. Um, I probably paid attention to first baseman more than any other position. I always liked to play first base when I played. I never played on a school team, but when we played like on the playgrounds or whatever, that'd be one of my main positions. I love to play first base. Rushmore Payton replaces Marino, Elway, Young, and Warner. Honorable mention. I can't remember. I just seen somebody recently get Kurt Warner's autograph through the mail. That was cool. Hello, A1. Happy Saturday. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, Mattingly was fun to watch. I don't guess I remember you saying, Kirk. Do you collect cards, baseball cards or sports cards? I can't remember if I've ever heard you talk about that or not. How are you doing tonight, A1? Hope everybody's doing good, staying warm, having a great Saturday. Hold that thought. I'll be right back. Anybody remember these? Wacky packages. Spite, Shorox, Gripe nuts. They were like from the mid 2000s. Snorox. Don't lose your snooze. Choose Snorox. Life Savings, freshly minted. You got to step into a Slam Jim. Yeah, they were from like the mid. These were I don't know how long they ran, but these were from like 2006. Scavenging bubbles. Antisocial. Picks clean your bathroom, then comes after you. Jawson and Jawson, a scary company. I like Bubblelicious as a kid. Here's Blubberlicious, Blubberlicious Blubber Gum. 5 fatty pieces. Humpback berry. Store up for winter. Not a leave, but alive. All day terror. Pills that make you run for your life. Instead of brisk, it's brick from 2 ton. It's just a brick, baby. Contractor iced tea. All right, if anybody finds this one offensive, I'm going to apologize before I show it, but viewer discretion is advised. Viewer discretion is advised. Maybe I've made nobody leave with that one. I don't know what kind of bottled water you drink, but here's an option. Deer parts. And Chris, I enjoyed seeing your hockey cards. That was cool. I was just disappointed you didn't get any Bruins. Bruins is my favorite hockey team. You didn't get any Bruins cards. I don't know if y'all had a Mr. Potato Head as a kid, but I don't know if Mr. Potato Dead for young morticians. From the makers of are made by Hasburied. Hasburied instead of Hasbro. And for all you cookie fans out there, I don't know if you've ever had any Mrs. Fields cookies, but here's an option. Mrs. Fiend's terrifying cookies. 8 cookies that bite back. Semi scary hair raisin. Pay dough, the easy way to make big bucks. One big wad of dough, pay dough. There was a coupon on the back too. Save $5 off of mutt bone. Mutt bone. Gooby snacks. Like, hey, Goob. Gooby snacks. Stubble bubble. Whiskers filled bubble gum. Give your tongue a whisker rub. That's gross. No, thank you. Gargle. The search engine to use when you're looking for deals on mouthwash. In the search bar, they ask, do they make a pizza flavored mouthwash? Gargle search. My breath smells like. Click on category for advanced search. Herring. My breath smells like herring, garlic, anchovies, rotten eggs, dead skunk, dog waste, used diapers, a monkey's armpit, and your mama's feet. But you can see the copyright date on the cards 2005. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Krispy Kreme donuts, but when I was when I was a youngster, I was in the Boy Scouts, and we had to raise money, and it was for a few other things that I was a part of too. But the fundraising that we used to have to do, the let's see, for the Boy Scouts, and then I can't remember what other things I was a part of that we sold donuts, but the type of donuts that we used to sell to raise money for a fundraiser was Krispy Kreme donuts. I don't know if y'all have those in your area, but I can't remember if that's nationwide or just regional. But we had Krispy Kreme donuts. But this is a takeoff on that called Krusty Crumbs donuts. 1 dozen years old, dried up cake variety. Here's one for all you orange juice lovers out there. I'm an orange juice lover, but I don't care for this brand. Have y'all tried Minnow Made? Minnow Made Premium Fish Juice. No bones, mercury free, pulp free, 100% pure squeezed. Minnow Made Fresh Premium Fish Juice. Yeah, I hope y'all have already ate, because I may be putting somebody on a diet after watching some of these and make you not want to eat for sure. But I've already said viewer discretion is advised. For all you cat lovers out there, we have some Vermina rat chow. Vermina rat chow. Now with paint chips. Garbage flavor. Nutrition for the healthy house pest. Oh, we got one for all you cereal lovers. For all you cereal lovers out there. What's y'all's favorite cereal? Mine is Cinnamon Toast Crunch by far. Uh, my number two doesn't even come close to my number one. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I guess that would have been a good Rushmore. He probably already done it though. Rushmore of cereals. But my number one is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. But here is one Fruity Pebbles and Cinnamon Life cereal. But have y'all ever tried Harry Combs? Nutritious, nutritious, I can't say that. Nutritious, enriched, follicles, and plastic. 1,000 hairs, 50 combs, zero taste. Enlarged to show dandruff. Now on to board games. Pops, yeah. Yeah, y'all gonna be paranoid about finding hair in your food now. Now we're on to board games. I love to play board games, you know, whether it be Scrabble. Scrabble is my favorite of all time, but I love to play all board games, you know, Monopoly. But here's one from the past I haven't played in a long time. This ain't it. I have never played this, but the game, the one that's making fun of. I remember Twister. I liked playing Twister as a kid, but I've never played Blister, the game that breaks you out in spots. Up to four can pay. Blister. I love, instead of Milton Bradley MB at the bottom, it's got MD. MD, get to one fast. Medical doctor, get to one fast. Blister. That's funny. If I drink colas, most of the time it's either going to be a cola flavor, you know, such as Pepsi or Coke, or root beer or cream soda. But as far as fruit flavored, my favorite cola is probably orange, and this is a play off of an orange drink. Skunk, skunk kissed, skunk enticement beverage, 16 furry ounces. Kids, don't try this at home. Skunk kissed. And you know these meals are aimed at kids, but I like them too. But this is a play on a meal. Um, Punchables, crackers, smackers, left, right, lunch combinations. Oh, I just dropped one. I'll be back. And this is a real card. This is no funny card. This is for real. I like names of repeating names. So we have Bowl, basketball player, son of Manute Bol. I love to collect autographs, and my favorite, I guess, my favorite autograph is when they sign their name, but also include a Bible verse along with it. Um, and I guess I'll have to do a video of that, but I just got one right here. But like this is one Mark Thurman for the Detroit Tigers, but you can see he signed his name in blue Sharpie. Pretty cool signature, but he also included a Romans chapter 1, verse 16 verse, which I always like when they included Bible references on their cards. Romans 1:16 says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek." That's a great verse. To not be ashamed of God, to not be ashamed of His word, His gospel, His good news, and then letting everybody know that the good news is for everybody, and that's what He's saying there. Everyone, whether you're Jew or Gentile, the gospel is for everyone. that word leadeth. Usually, if you hear a word twice, it's just a, I guess emphasized. And he leadeth me beside the still waters. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. So, as we go through this year of 2025 together, I pray that we're all led by God, and that's where the success, that's where the prosperity lies, is following God, not doing our own thing, going our own routes, but doing things His way, His will. And I pray that for this new year that we be found faithful to follow our shepherd. And I appreciate everybody that stopped by tonight. It means a lot. And I just want to remind everybody that I love everybody and I don't hate anybody. And it's all because of somebody who died for me. So good night. God bless. And I hope to see you again somewhere down the road. God bless.